Hello everyone, this is PK Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be a quick look and review of the recent reveal of Michael Keaton's Batman suit for the upcoming Batgirl movie, which will be released exclusively on HBO Max. The movie has actress Leslie Grace in the lead role as Barbara Gordon, with J.K. Simmons casted as James Gordon, and you can check out my previous videos covering the project on the channel, and I will leave some links within the description. Now, of course, anticipation for this project was raised when it was confirmed that Michael Keaton will be returning in his iconic role as the Caped Crusader, still for me the best live-action adaptation from both Batman in 1989 and also Batman Returns in 1992, and there will be continuation of his role within the upcoming Flash movie set for November 2022, with Ezra Miller in the lead role as the Flash. So we're going to take a quick look at the reveal of the newer version of this costume for the ongoing behind-the-scenes footage of the Batgirl movie, which, to be honest, we seem to be getting almost a daily dose of updates. Almost every other day we're getting more and more photos of behind-the-scenes footage of them filming. I believe they've recently finished filming scenes in Glasgow now, and I believe principal photography is due to be completed soon in March this year. But we're going to take a look now at this costume and putting it on screen here, and to be honest, giving my first impressions of the look, I'm not really liking it overall. Now, in terms of the design itself, I do like the cowl. I do think it's got the pointy ears as what we compared to the original 1989 version, so that's very good. We've also got the angular eyebrows, very typical of the classic version of the 1989. So very much spot on in terms of the ears and the cowl. No problems on that particular front. We've also got the classic Bat Insignia, all in black with the yellow emblem on there. Very classic again from the 89 version. Very much similar, I believe, to the Batman Returns symbol. If you remember, Batman 89 had a bit more points to the bat symbol, and Batman Returns version very much refines that overall design. So very similar to the Batman Returns design, so no problems there, still looking very spot on. The issues arrive when I look at the neck and the shoulder segment of this costume. Now, if you look on here, they've gone for a far more straighter, blockier construct as opposed to the previous version, where they've gone for a much more of a solid segment around his traps and also his shoulder. We've got a bit of those segments in between there, but they've gone for a far more of a boldier look in terms of this overall upper part of his body. Now, I think the reason for this is that they want to accommodate for the fact that Keaton, at 70 years old, is far more of a slender, less physically imposing figure. Well, to be honest, he never really was a big person anyway. That was causing all of the initial controversy surrounding his original casting, that he was never a fully physically big person. But at 70 years old, of course, he's going to be far more of a slimmer physique. So they tried to account for this by, I think, building a lot more on the neck and the shoulders in terms of overall thicker material. If you go back to the original version, they had a far more of a curved segment around both his shoulders and also his upper chest and clavicles to give that much more of a bat design. But they've gone for a far more blockier, straight design on here. It's not terrible, but I just think it takes away a bit of the distinctiveness of the bat design, but I can understand why they've done it, as I mentioned before, to kind of account for the lack of physical stature in many ways from Michael Keaton. They did adopt a similar tactic, if you remember, for the Patterson Batman. When you look at that version, when he had the collar at the neck and he's got the big bulky armor type design, that again was to account for the fact that Robert Pattinson, Michael Keaton, is far more of a slim, slender physique. But it doesn't look terrible on the overall design of the suit. And then we can look at the chest area, where again they've bulked up far more the pectoral designs of the suit. If we look at the actual designs, it's very similar to the 1992 version, where they've gone for a far more of a military type of Kelvar design rather than the 89 version, which had that classic anatomical look where the chest was much more ripped and had that much more of a humanoid design. This has got far more of a cyborg robotic design, very much of a Robocop design, if you remember from the original first film as well. So that's the design that they've gone for in particular on the suit. Again, it looks very similar to the 1992 version, so I don't really have too many complaints in terms of the chest design of the suit. Now we go on to the big issue for me within this design, and that is the stomach area. Now if you look on the stomach area overall here, but it looks very flabby, almost it's got like a jello effect. It's got a very baggy look towards it. Now I'm not sure why they did this. Now obviously this person here is a stunt double. This isn't actually Michael Keaton in a costume, just to confirm overall. But look at the stomach area, you see how it's not quite the same toned, refined look, certainly like what we got, if you remember, from the 89 version, where we had the far more of that classical anatomical six-pack. It was looking all ripped around the abdominal and the stomach area. And then in the second version from 1992, we had a far more of a simplified, refined look, but it was still very tight around the stomach. But here, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe this is just an adjustment that they made for the stunt double. And when we come to the finished version, it will have that far more of that rips design that we normally associate with the look. But it just looks really off, unfit for the rest of the overall design. You've got this big bulky construct in terms of the shoulders and the chest, and then you've just got this more flabby material at the bottom here. It just really looks out of shape in terms of the overall construct. I think the belt is fine. If you can see on here, they've gone for the black color rather than the yellow belt. I wish they would have gone to the yellow belt, because I think that's always distinctive within the original costume. And they've got the same design in terms of the legs and the boots in terms of the original version as well. So that looks fine on screen as well. But it's just that stomach area. I don't know really what's going on here. Again, they may fix that in post-production. We always have to give leeway that when we look at these still photos, it will always look better in live action. We've had so many examples when we look at a costume in the stills and it doesn't look as good. And then when we see it live action, when they can add all of the various filters and angles and lighting, it looks far more better, it looks far more dynamic. So I'm not writing off the costume at this stage, but it's just that stomach area that really kind of threw me off in terms of this overall design. But everything else I would say is probably on point, and again with the ears and the cowl and the bat insignia as well, it's pretty much on point. But it's just that stomach area, and I think it throws everything off from the rest of the overall design. So I think further improvements can be made, and we also have to realise that they're still very much filming, so there's no reason why, if necessary, they can go back and change the costume and do various reshoots. We know that happens all the time with big TV productions and films. They always reshoot. So there's no problems there if they need to change the overall costume. But I think they released this picture to really get a gauge again on audience reaction. And what I'm seeing on social media, I think reaction overall has been very mixed. And of course, there's been a very unhappy reaction from the Snyder fans, of course, because having Keaton included in this movie, very much talking to a younger version of Jim Gordon. I'll put a couple of pictures up on screen here where we see J.K. Simmons, and he's got the far more of the orange head, indicating that it's a younger version, coming across Batman. And in this shot here, actually, when we look at the headpiece and the cowl, it actually looks more like the Christian Bale version rather than the Michael Keaton version in this shot. But the fact that Keaton has been included in this storyline, talking to Jim Gordon when he's much younger, and then we assume that he's going to have some conversation, some interaction later on with Barbara Gordon, because that's the whole inspiration behind her becoming Batgirl, is her interactions with Batman. So all of that narrative clearly negates the Ben Affleck version and firmly establishes a new timeline or a new reality. That's clear as day now, because it makes no other sense. How can it be that the Keaton version comes into conversation with Jim Gordon when he's younger, and then in the Snyderverse we have an older Jim Gordon talking to a much younger version of Ben Affleck? So that in itself conflicts itself and really confirms that because the Batgirl movie is taking place after the Flash movie, that we will be very much dealing with an alternate reality or a new preset reality following the events of the Flash. Now, I won't delve into it too much more because this video is primarily focusing on the suit itself, but I think that's as clear as day now that whatever shenanigans that we get from the Flash movie, it will result in some sort of rebooting of the universe, and I truly believe that this Batgirl movie is a clear indication of what happens post those events of the reboot of the DC cinematic universe. But just going back to the costume, I don't really hate it, but I just don't show a lot of favoritism to it. And to be honest, it's primarily that stomach area, as I mentioned before. It's just a bit flabby, it's not really tight. Again, maybe this was an adjustment that they had to make at the time because of the stunt double involved. As I mentioned before, that's not Keaton in the costume. So we'll wait and see later on down the line when we get far more of a high-res photo of the costume with Keaton, full front shot. I think that's what we clearly need to see. It is a bit telling that they would release a version of Keaton in the Batgirl production before the Flash production. Again, that's something very telling. I'm not sure how planned that was. We all know sometimes that people take pictures of the on-set photos and then leak them online, so there's no way that you can avoid it in any way, sense or form. That does happen, but again, you'd think Warner Brothers would have a far more control on this. But again, this could be being done just to gauge overall reaction over the initial costume before giving us the far more refined look in terms of the Flash movie, which probably will have a different design to this overall picture here. But we'll wait and see when that Flash movie arrives overall. So here's my overall quick thoughts and feelings on the reveal of the Michael Keaton bat suit for the Batgirl project. Do you think it looks better? Do you think it looks worse than the 89 version? How do you think it compares overall? Do you think we'll get a different version when we come across Michael Keaton within the Flash movie? Do you think there are further improvements to be made, or do you like the version as it is sitting currently? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if of course we get any further updates or behind the scenes photos regarding this project, then I will cover it on the channel as well. Please also hit and like those subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay in safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.